Two kinds of metaphors that we may run across in poems that are important are extended metaphors and controlling metaphors, and they're going to be rather related. What an extended metaphor is when we're going to have a comparison that we're going to continue on for a long period of time. So on page 868, we have the poem by Anne Bradstreet, the author to her book. And in that, she is going to be making this comparison between a book and a child. The poem is called The Author to Her Book, but throughout the poem, she's going to be talking about a child, thou ill-formed offspring of my feeble brain, right? So she's going to talk about the book as being a child. She's going to talk about how its legs aren't long enough. She's going to talk about how its face is dirty. All those kinds of things that are going to make this connection between a book and a child. As we've said before, that the reason that we have figurative language is that we take something that is hard for us to understand and we put it in terms of something that's a lot easier for us to understand. Most of us don't know what it's like to write a book, but we all have some idea about what it's like to have a child. If we don't have children ourselves, we have parents who we can see what they've gone through in terms of having children. So what Bradstreet is going to do, she's going to take something that's difficult for us to understand, her feelings about writing a book, and she's going to put it in terms of something that we do understand, which is having a child. And then she's going to make that comparison over and over again. Writing a book is like having a child because the legs aren't going to be even. And so we can say, well, the book doesn't have legs, but there can be things in the book that aren't quite right. Writing a book is like having a child because its face is always going to be dirty. Well, a book doesn't have a face, but you can see that there could be blemishes in the book, things that aren't quite right that we might try to fix. And so that's going to be an extended metaphor because she's going to continue making that comparison throughout the poem. It is also a controlling metaphor because that is the only metaphor, the only sustained comparison that she has throughout the entire poem. If she wrote a poem in which she did a stanza comparing writing a book to having a child, and then she wrote another stanza in the poem where she compared writing a book to cooking a meal, let's say, then those would both be extended metaphors, but neither one would be a controlling metaphor because neither one controls the entire poem. We get part of the poem that's going to be about, that's going to compare writing a book to having a child, part of the poem that's going to be about compare writing a book to cooking a meal. Neither one controls it, and so it's not going to be a controlling metaphor, but each one would be an extended metaphor. All controlling metaphors are extended metaphors, right? If they go throughout the entire poem, then they have to be extended. But not all extended metaphors are controlling metaphors, and so we want to make sure we can understand the difference between those two.